Hello, everybody, and welcome to Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal. How's Denise and Ron doing tonight?
Busy. Just got rid of the grandkids.
I seen them pop in, and I seen Dad at the door, so yeah, you've had a long day.
Yeah, we just had a little accident right before, so we had to, of course, clean that up and get everybody calmed down before going home, because otherwise it'd been hell going home. But yeah, it's just another day of being grandparents these days.
I know the feeling.
Another day in retirement. Hey.
I know the feeling. Tammy's over babysitting right now, so I've got the house all to myself.
Oh,
so then you don't know what it's like right now.
I don't. It's quiet. Right at the moment, it's quiet. We'll put it that way and stuff.
Well, we saw your handiwork on Christine's post about getting her car back up and everything. You guys did a great job.
Brand new, yeah.
Looked really good.
Well, we're still waiting on the hood hinges to get here because we didn't think they were that bad. But when we put the hood on there, we found out they were bent like crazy.
Well, I mean, she hit somebody going pretty fast.
Well,
she hit somebody doing 45 miles an hour. And let me tell you, these brand new cars, that's a 2024, 24, one of the two, right?
Look new.
I've seen tin cans, beer cans stronger. The metal is so thin on it.
Yeah, it was a Mitsubishi, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Mitsubishi.
Yeah,
you know, it's supposed to be one.
Yeah,
I looked at it and went, "How in the hell does this car ever pass crash tests?"
I didn't know they were even still around.
Oh yeah, Mitsubishi. Yeah, Mitsubishi's still around. Got a lot of cars and everything, but we always thought they were better cars. You know,
they're not.
They're not.
They're barely holding on in Japan. They're like at the very bottom. They're
right. I mean,
they're not very good.
The fenders are plastic on it.
Almost all are.
Yeah. And the framing work on it is just ridiculous. But anyway, we got it pretty well all done except for the hood hinges. And we get that done. Then the windshield is supposed to be installed on the 19th. That's been the most expensive part of the whole car. So, and Denise and Ron, you're froze up.
Carl?
You're froze.
Okay. Yep. Are you guys froze up down there?
No, they're good. But you were for a second.
So were you. So, and then just now, my Wi-Fi stuff came on, and I'm hardwired, so I don't know what's going on.
Right. But, no, it'll be up and running. Like I said, the windshield will be put in. The windshield was almost $800 for the windshield. Whew. Well, it's got all that camera shit,
it's got all
stuff built into it, and they got to reprogram it and everything.
Yep.
Well, you figure just to get a windshield replaced, it's at least $500.
Right.
Why hardly anybody ever makes a claim against a windshield because it's just the same as the deductible in most cases. So that's not too bad, really. So,
right.
But you guys did a great job, and I hope Christine will be up and driving soon. And how's the food bus going? The drive-in diner?
It's getting there right now. She picked up, that was the phone call I had right there. She's down at Home Depot picking up the little refrigerator. That is a refrigerator, or it can be a freezer, either one.
Yeah, we saw those. We saw them. I thought that was a great idea.
So we're using it as a refrigerator because we already have a freezer the same size as that refrigerator to put in here. So we've got both of those. I've been out working on the water supply and the drains and everything for the sink and getting them all mounted. And then tomorrow I'll be getting the gas regulator, putting the gas pipes in and getting everything hooked up. And then everything's coming out of there. Well, I got to fasten everything down and then clean it all up and take it to the highway patrol to show them it's not a bus anymore.
Right.
Show them it's a drive-in diner.
Yeah. And then
Or
go to
something.
the health department, get that passed, go to the title company, get that all licensed. So hopefully, first of next week, we'll be cooking food in it.
That soon.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I can't wait to
Tuesday.
see the pictures.
Oh, you're going to see pictures, and during the daytime, you're going to see us live in there.
Well, I probably won't because I'm working.
Right. But if you just pop
I'll
in
see it
or
later.
see it, yeah. But no, we've got internet in it and everything, so everything's doing real good. I almost thought about doing a live show out there tonight, but I was like, no, not yet.
Does it have air
You did the
conditioning?
other night.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you got us a guest tonight.
And they're friends of ours from here in Pensacola, and they're Ethereal Voices Paranormal, and it's Richard and Colleen Johnson.
Right. And you're froze up again, Denise.
Apparently we are.
Yeah, apparently you are froze.
Yeah, I wasn't. That's what's funny.
Now you're not,
On
but
your
you
side.
were.
Yeah, on our side we weren't. So our friends are Richard and Colleen Johnson from Ethereal Voices Paranormal out of Pensacola, and bring them on up.
Hello.
The dog's moving.
I was about ready to say they were froze up.
We're pretending, and I was like, the dog's moving. That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So,
How's it
can't
going?
control them animals. So, you know what? I'm going to take us down, and I'm going to try to fix my internet real quick, and then
Yeah, we
you
need
guys.
to be hardwired. She's on Wi-Fi.
I don't know why I'm on Wi-Fi. I
don't
wasn't.
either.
Right,
So
right.
Well,
That's all right.
we're going to go down. We'll be back.
Right. Oh, she's going to jump down
She's jumping down.
and everything. Yeah, she's having issues tonight, and but so you guys are in Pensacola, Florida,
Yep.
Yeah.
and everything. What got you both started in the paranormal?
I'm like the normal one, had experiences when I was a kid, and just always wasn't afraid of ghosts, and stuff like that. It was interesting. Even when I was little, I always thought it was interesting. So later on, whenever I remember the first time I watched Ghost Hunters, and I was like, I want to do that. So I started, and I've been doing it ever since. So 28 years, I guess,
You're
something
old.
like that. Yeah,
Old man.
yeah. So I've
Right.
been doing it a while.
So for me, I've only been doing it for 14 years because, when I was younger, I could sense things. I didn't really see things, but I could sense things. And my sisters were the same way. And then I kind of pushed it off. I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to know anything. And then when we moved here, I was married to my first husband, and we had bought a house in Gulf Breeze. And once my son was born, he started seeing a ghost in the house. He called it the Sparkle Man. And he said it looked like all sparkles. And he would just, when he was 2, he would just walk through the house talking to it, following it up to closed doors. And he said he could see just legs going up the stairs, or whatever it was, would peek in on him at night and check on him. And, and this went on for years. And my daughter saw it too. And so we just called him the Sparkle Man. I had a friend of mine who read tarot, and she came over and she felt the house, and she said, he's just a watcher. He doesn't want to interact. He's just a watcher. He's just keeping an eye on things. And I'm like, okay. Because it never interacted with me or my ex-husband. We had a dog. It never bothered the dog. It was just my son and my daughter. And then when I got divorced, that's when Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and everything became big. And I started watching the shows, and And I was like, oh, so other people have experienced this stuff too. And the funny thing is that the paranormal is how Richard and I met. So we were both on an online dating website because we were both divorced. And he came up as my top choice. He came up as my top match, which is really funny because he was not my type at all. And he came up as my top match. And I was looking at his profile, and under hobbies, it said ghost hunting. And I was like, oh, I need to ask him. So I started messaging him, and I'm like, listen, the very first thing I said is, I'm not hitting on you. I just want to ask you some questions about ghost hunting. And we were texting back and forth, and then we called each other, and we talked on the phone for 7 hours that first day. And the next day we talked on the phone for 5 hours. Our phones would die, and we'd plug them in. Back in the day of the flip phone. And then we eventually met. And when we met, it was like we had known each other forever. So the paranormal has really brought us together. At first, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go ghost hunting. And I said, I'll wait in the car, and I'll keep the snacks and the drinks. And when you come and you cleanse yourself and you come back, then I'll be here with the snacks. But pretty much when we're together, stuff just amps up. We experience more when we're together than when we're apart. So for the time he moved in my house, we had the spirit of a little girl that would be in the house, and she would jump on my bed early in the morning after he left for work. We had a spirit that was locking our deadbolts on our house and locking. I would go into the bathroom in my room and leave the door open, or I would close the door, but I wouldn't lock it. And I'd go to leave and the door was locked. I went to go pick all three of my kids up from wherever they were at, and when we came back, the deadbolt was locked. And then
I brought them with me.
he brought them with him. And then eventually I was on the treadmill. I was running on the treadmill, and a man said, hey, in my ear. And the only ones home were my son's baby mama and my daughter. And so I went outside and chain smoked about 5 cigarettes. And I called Richard, and I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm on my way home. Why? And I said, because somebody said hi. He goes, someone said hi. I said, someone said hi, and then there's nobody here. He's like, I'm on my way. So we did an EVP session, which we never investigate in our own house. We don't. Right. And so we did an EVP session just to see what was there. And a male voice said, let me stay. And so he said, are you the one that's been locking the doors? He said, yep. So we don't know who he was. We call him Tony. He's a spirit of a guy who's seen all over that neighborhood. But those spirits stayed there at that house in Gulf Breeze. When we moved here to Pensacola, now we have new ones. So in fact, last night I had to cleanse the house because the night before I was laying in bed. He was in the living room watching TV. I was laying in bed, and I saw a shadow go down the hallway and into our spare bedroom, our craft room. And I'm like, what? And it was like, it wasn't dark. It wasn't black. It was like a light brownish tan looking. You can make out just the head and the shoulders, and that's it. It just went, it was like the size of like a 10-year-old, and just went whoop, right in there. And I'm like, what in the heck? So yeah, I was cleansing the house yesterday because we don't do EVP sessions in our house. You don't want to open up the doors in your own home, you know? So I just went through and I cleansed the house, and last night I didn't see anything. So that's good.
Smells
I think
good.
that it might be something from the graveyard down the road.
I don't know.
Transient?
We have spent a lot of time. We're getting ready for the Deep South Paracomic-Con, and so we've been at a lot of forts lately. We've been to Fort Gaines, we've been to Fort Mims, we've been to Fort Morgan. So we've been at a lot of forts lately, and I'm wondering if something follows home from there, because that hadn't happened. We have spirits in this house. We have Grandma, who came with the 100-year-old rocking chair we have. And all she does is, if you put stuff on the chair and you don't ask permission, you come back, it's on the floor. And she cooks in the middle of the night. You'll wake up at like 2, 3 in the morning and smell breakfast cooking. You'll smell bacon. You'll smell cornbread. You'll smell fried chicken. And you walk in the kitchen, there's nothing there. And that's Grandma cooking. We had friends, Letriana Brown and Blaine Rohan. We were on her podcast, and he kept saying, who is that in your kitchen? Who's walking around in there? And I said, nobody, that's just the kitchen. And he said, there's a little old lady making cornbread, and I can smell it from here. And I said, oh, that's Grandma. She's attached to the chair. But I never had anything that scared me in the house. But that night, that was just weird because I'm laying in bed and I just see boom, right past.
And it just happened like when we went to Fort Mims the other day, and then I think a couple of days later, I heard something knock, but it sounded like it came from the back of the house, and it was just me and the dogs here. It was 3 knocks, bam, 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 and the dogs jumped up, were growling, looking towards the front door, but there wasn't anybody there. So
I went around with my Florida
I don't know,
water.
something might have grabbed a hold of us while we were at one of the forts or something and came home with us. But
And our granddaughter told him, she goes, Papa, you didn't wipe your feet, Papa. And so she made it stop the car so she could get out and wipe her feet and tell it to stay, and got back in the car. Because she goes somewhere. She's 8. And so she knows herself, but he forgot that day. So I don't know if something just hitched a ride, or I don't know.
I don't know.
So what you said you did cleansing and you used Florida water?
Florida water.
What's special about Florida water?
So Florida water was used by shamans, and it has bergamot and sage and cinnamon and a bunch of natural citrus oils and things in it, and vodka.
And vodka, yeah.
The vodka sounds like it'd be
The
great.
vodka will do it.
But
it smells really good.
It smells wonderful. And people used to use it as cologne and stuff because it smelled so good, but shamans used to use it to cleanse areas. And I found that whenever we go to cleanse a house, we'll use sage, but really I get the most effectiveness out of the Florida water. And just go around and sprinkle it and say the Lord's Prayer and say only the good may stay,
Florida water and Palo Santo.
Palo Santo, yeah.
I believe Palo Santo is great because of the fact that it takes out the negative and it adds in the positive all in one step. And, we're in an instant gratification society, and there you go.
Yeah.
All in one.
We found some Palo Santo candles at Earthbound. Earthbound in Cordova Mall has Palo Santo candles. And we've burned through 2 of them already. We burned them, in the living room. And it was right after we ran out of the candle that I saw that figure. And we've had shadows. You'll see shadows out of the corner of your eye and stuff. This is the first time that I saw it so clearly. And it was like if you looked at it like a picture from like the 1800s, that it's like that brownish gray color. That's what that's the color it was. And it just I don't know what it was. I always got a weird feeling in the craft room. I'd be sitting there on my Cricut and I'd just get cold. So I always had a funky feeling in there, but that was the first time I saw something actually go into that room. Yeah, that's like we were sitting here one night and I'm sorry, I'm talking like crazy. I'm not like anybody talk. We were sitting one night on the couch, and Richard's father passed away a 1.5 years ago. And he had said when he passed, he said, if there's something on the other side, I will come back and let you know, because he knows what Richard did. He's gone on investigations with us. We're sitting on the couch, we're watching TV, and all of a sudden the chair that Richard's sitting in now rolled out from behind the desk and banged against the wall.
Okay, look, I got to push hard.
We're on carpet.
It's on carpet.
This is not like Berber. This is like 1980s crap carpet. Like, yeah, because we rent.
Yeah.
So this is renter's carpet. So,
almost shag, but not.
Yeah. And so the chair just rolled by itself and slammed against the wall. And we both, big investigators, we both kind of looked at him and went, okay. Hey, Dad. We went, put the chair back and kept watching TV, It's funny how things, once you're an investigator, things don't bother you like they bother other people.
Yeah.
What'd you hear?
There was some noise, and I don't know what it was.
I heard something earlier back there in the craft room.
It was like I don't know.
Nope. Yeah, no airplanes flying over today.
No.
I know that if it had, it was earlier.
That's in the morning. In the morning, I go out in my front yard and watch Blue Angels practice, and they fly round and round and round over the top of our house. So
we're by where the helicopters practice, so it's not as much fun.
Hey, I work at Sacred Heart, and I listen to helicopters landing and taking off all day long.
I was just at Sacred Heart on Thursday.
Were you really? I'm in the medical
Yep.
office building.
Yeah, I went through there. I went through there. So, guys, I had a procedure done
Oh, okay.
on Thursday.
So you're
I
over
get to close down all the recovery rooms. I seem to be one of the last people in the recovery room all the time. Hey, Nigel.
Hi, Nigel.
So,
Nigel.
Hello, Mom, Mike, and Susan, and Crystal.
So, are you guys coming to the paranormal meetup tomorrow night?
Are we? I didn't know it was tomorrow night. We haven't been in a minute.
Yeah, we'll
We
come.
know.
Yeah,
Wait,
That's
tomorrow.
what I said. What I asked Denise, I said, "What happened to you
Is
two?"
that a restaurant or something now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we decided that we needed to. When it got cold, we found one of the local businesses reached out to me and said, "Why don't you do it here? We're haunted. Why not?"
There
I
you
was
go.
like, okay. And the first night we went, it was
It's not the quietest place,
yeah, it's
but
not-
it's
but we can sit outside there if it's if
Yeah.
it's too noisy. But the thing is inside I can get them to control the music and turn it down in the
you
back
can still
part.
hear it.
You can still hear it, but not as loud. But outside, I don't think I can control the music.
Yeah, we haven't been.
But
Oh, we'll come tomorrow.
bring equipment because that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
And just so you know, Rob Booth is coming with some of his people, and they're going to bring some equipment as well. So I know, and so I think it's nice for the people who aren't paranormal investigators that
None
are
of
there,
them are.
which you guys have met most of them.
Yeah, a lot of them kept coming back.
Yeah, they're still coming back. They haven't seen
And
any.
we brought
equipment.
up equipment, and they were all interested in seeing some. You know, not just from what they saw on TV, but I said we'll have some stuff you haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen
Right.
yet.
So I'd like it'd be great if you could come and share, and I think it'll be fun. And we've yeah, and we've grown.
Yeah.
You know, we're probably up to about a total of 30 people have come all together. So I think that's pretty good for people not knowing us at all.
Mhm.
So, but every month, certain people come every month.
Well, that's
And-
pretty obvious.
We're
They don't know us.
Yeah, that's why they keep coming back because they
we're
don't
down
know us
the
yet.
street from the Museum of Shadows. So you know the Museum
Uh-huh.
of Shadows from Omaha, Nebraska is now here in Pensacola.
Yeah, I know. I reached out to the guy.
And he has a couple of the pieces Richard built at the museum. He's asked for pieces, and he's asked Richard to build things. So he has a few pieces that Richard has
Yeah,
built. in
he
the
can't
museum.
do a whole lot. Like right now, he's kind of tied. His hands are kind of tied because of contracts and things with TV and all that stuff. So he doesn't like really go around to a lot of stuff. He just does that for some reason. But he's a good guy, Nate Ratterman. It's
Yeah, I've reached out to him and he has not responded. And I figure it's just the timing was wrong.
yeah.
They keep a lot to themselves, and they got family, and he's in the process of trying to get into a bigger building, and because the one in Omaha is what four floors,
Three stories. Yeah.
So but he's got a lot of haunted objects. He does investigations on Fridays and Saturday nights, and you can pay to go walk through the museum. So it's pretty cool. So anybody who's in Pensacola area who's interested, it's pretty interesting,
Mhm.
and they're good people. So
I knew about the one in Omaha when we lived in Kansas City. But we didn't go to Omaha. We didn't go to Omaha a lot. I had this aversion to Nebraska. I'm just saying. Every time it was just trafficy up there. And we would go. We've been to weddings and all kinds of other stuff up there. That was just never on our
Our
list.
favorite place.
Yeah, it wasn't one of our favorite places. Most of our
Just because I
favorite
had to go up there all the time.
Yeah, most of our favorite places are south.
gotcha. Yeah, we've been occupied. You were talking about grandkids, and we've got another grandbaby on the way. My daughter's pregnant.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I work for her OBGYN, so I get to see all the results and everything before she does, which she can't stand. But yeah, so we've been busy with that, and they're buying a house, and just helping them move and everything. That's why we haven't been around. And we've been running on every weekend. Every weekend we've been going to either we're at a cemetery or we're at one of the forts. We've been doing so many forts lately.
Right.
Fort Morgan, we were doing EVP session, and we had our cassette player. We had a bunch of different mediums because we want to get as many examples because we're teaching a class at the Deep South Para Comic Con on how to do EVPs. So we wanted a lot of examples, and we weren't looking for anything visual, but I was recording. I was recording just in case. And sure enough, we put a cat ball down next to a K2 on the floor. There's a lot of dips in that floor because of where the bricks have worn away. And we put it inside a dip. And sure enough, we have it on camera. The cat ball started going off and just rolled.
It rolled uphill.
Rolled uphill, took off. And
Not down in the hole, it rolled out of the hole.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we're not looking for visual stuff. We're looking for auditory stuff. And you get visual. And when you're looking for visual stuff, you get auditory.
That's usually how it goes. It's like kids and animals always do the opposite of what you think they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I had heard that that they're not really allowing too many paranormal investigations out at Fort Morgan.
They do, but it's expensive. That's why a lot of people don't go. It's $500 for 6 hours.
From 6 o'clock at night until midnight. But you have to be out by midnight.
You got to be out.
Oh, that's not good.
So how many people? How many people can you have?
As many as you want.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, that's not
because
horrible.
because we
but
had
it's not
heard
great.
we'd heard that
The
it had-
Warnell House was
it had gotten ruined by other
John
paranormal
Warnell House.
teams.
We had to do something
Yeah,
like that.
and
It's
then
like-
that's why she started charging.
Step-ins.
That's why they started charging like they do. I guess they figured if you can afford to pay the fee, then you're not going to mess the place up.
Right.
So,
But I know it gets reserved, like the entire fall is reserved. I know that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it in the summer because the mosquitoes
the
will carry you
mosquitoes
off.
down there are horrible.
Yeah, they'll eat you.
Oh yeah, being on the bayou and all that crap right there. I already learned that lesson. Mosquitoes suck here.
They let people do events there and stuff like that. But like I said, it's $500 from 6 to midnight. I've tried to talk to them about spending the night, like the whole night, because there, Fort Morgan gets more active between like 2 and 4.
Richard has investigated Fort Morgan for over 20 years. He used to have a key to the gate. That's how often he used to investigate. And way back in the day, they would investigate all night because he had the key. And the caretaker was like, well, if I know you're here, then I don't have to be here because you've got, you're taking care of stuff. But I mean, it's crazy haunted. It's crazy active. But But
you know how it is too when you do events and you got 150 people there. Yeah, it's not really an investigation. It's just people running around in the dark.
Right.
It is.
You can't get anything.
Well, the bad part is that ruins it for other people
later
on. And I tell you, I would not pay. What is it? They charge about $100 a head.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally it was like 40 or 45 a head, and it went up since then. In certain groups that we know of, it went up.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. You go to. That's why I tell people all the time. Don't expect if it says a paranormal ghost hunt with these people and they selling tickets to it. It's not going to be a ghost hunt. It's going to be tons of people shoved into one place. And it's not, I mean, it is. You can't go by any evidence. Everything's contaminated.
Even a fort that big, if you have more than 25 people, you're not going to get anything. At least with like 25 people, you could do like 5 groups of 5 people,
Yeah.
all different areas. So you're not cross-contaminating or have this group breaking while this group is at, you know what I mean?
Right.
But if you just have these huge groups all willy-nilly and you have them walking wherever they want to go and just say, okay, go to the next spot, go to the next spot, you're not going to get anything.
No.
Yeah, it needs to be coordinated. Definitely. I know that when we used to do the
Belvoir.
Belvoir Winery, which is the Oddfellows
They
in
split
Liberty,
it up
Missouri.
into 4 groups,
Yep, they split us up
all
based on
different places at once.
Yep. These people went to this building, these people went to this building, you know, and they kept us all separated. We all broke at the same time.
Yep.
And then we went with somebody else to another place. And I thought that was a good way to go because you got to experience it with, you know, the same people all the time. So you didn't have to explain that the sound on your recorder was, you know, somebody else.
You know, if you have
you know
something
what I mean?
big like the battleground at Gettysburg, okay, that's huge. You can have 100 people there, you know, and be fine. But if you have, like, say, a tiny little bed and breakfast with itty bitty little rooms, you can't have 150 people in this teeny tiny little bed and breakfast. Nobody stays quiet. Nobody has their phone on airplane mode. You know, you're not going to, everybody's like talking. Do you hear something? Have you heard anything? Have you seen anything? What's going to happen? You know, there's just no way. So that's why whenever we go to Paracons and they're like, we're going to be doing an event. Do you want to help with the event? We stopped helping with the event because it's basically just a bunch of people running around with the equipment and nothing's happening, you know?
Yeah.
I try to tell people,
with-
if you expect, don't expect. If it says, you know, if it's an event, especially if there's celebrities there, you know, there's going to be tons of people. It's more for entertainment than it is for actually, you know, like what we all go out and do. It's more for entertainment. It's for you to get to hang out in the dark with whatever celebrity happens to be there. And, you know, it's just an event. It's not a ghost hunt. It's an event.
But like there's a very famous cemetery here, St. John's. And St. John's, they leave it open all night so that you can come and investigate. However, at this point, there's a lot of homeless people that have started staying there. And we went to help another group. They had an event going on. They wanted our help. And we've done St. John's many times. And we were by, what is it? George Washington's sister?
Yeah.
We were by George Washington's sister's grave. And there's a big mausoleum
it's like
there.
his cousin or sister. I don't know who it is.
And we're sitting, her name's Betty or Betsy. Anyway, we're sitting there and we're asking questions and we're doing EVPs. And constantly what we kept saying is, please be quiet. Please go away. Leave us alone. Please. And you realize that so many people have been investigating and they get tired of it too. And so after like the third time where they're like, go away, leave us alone. I was like, that's it. We're packing up. We're going. You know, we're done. Because if they don't want you there, they're tired. Pretty soon they're going to get upset. You don't want them upset.
That's what was coming over the box. You know, just like leave us alone. Said that like 3 times.
Yep.
And go and then go away.
Go away.
And so it was like, well, I guess they don't want to talk.
Yep. Very clear too. Very clear. You know, people don't realize you have these certain places that are so haunted, and it's like beating a dead horse. You have so many people going and saying the same things. What is your name? When did you die? How did you die? Why are you still here? But you know, same.
You know you're dead.
Yeah.
Ain't no wonder there's mean spirits.
I mean, how many different times are you gonna answer? Yes, I know I'm dead. Go away. You know what I mean? Like, ask me what I used to do. Ask me if I enjoy myself. Ask me if I come and go. Don't
what
just
are my
ask
hobbies?
the same things. What killed you? How'd you die? Is anybody else here? How many spirits are? It's always the same questions. Same questions every time.
I was put to death for people asking me the same question over and over again, and I broke and I strangled somebody.
That's right.
There you go.
I died. Get over it.
And that's why, you know, we're teaching the class on doing EVPs because, of course, we're EVP. But we do a lot of voice phenomena and you just teaching people different mediums, but also questions to ask and ways to react. You know, remember, these are people. If they're jerks in life, they're going to be jerks in death. If they were nice people in life, they'll be nice people in death. But everybody has that breaking point.
And I mean, that's what's weird is like, because that's what we try to, our main thing is vocal communication. And like, you know, we try to figure things out, and it's strange how you can have this recorder, just a regular, and this recorder right next to each other, this far apart. And you can ask a question and get an answer on one, but why is it not on the other one? When they're side by side, you would think that if something answered you on one recorder, it would be on the other one that was right next to it. But
Not necessarily. If they focused on that mic on that one.
What are those two recorders you got?
One's the DR60 and the other is a
that's my
regular.
Pride and
That's
joy.
my baby right there.
Now use that
What is
in
that?
marriage, I'm telling you.
The Panasonic.
Oh, the Panasonic one.
And then the other is just a
Olympus.
Sony or the other one.
Olympus.
Yeah. Olympus. Yeah. We have
Yeah,
an
you're,
Olympus and a Sony.
Your laptop will pick up even better than that.
We try all kinds of different.
We have
Hey,
It might pick up too good.
we have an actual cassette recorder. Like those of you who
Yes,
are
it
around
would.
the 80s, like we used to sit in
Yeah.
front of the radio when Top 10 came on, you're recording your songs for in the car.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use a tape recorder. We use all different
Micro
kinds of
cassette
brands,
recorder.
different brands of recorders. Just because you sometimes you find that one of them that it just picks up everything, and nothing else on anything else, and it varies from place to place.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
think it's based on what maybe when the spirit passed, what they were used to when they died, or
Well, you know
what
that's-
they've seen the most.
that's why
Right.
when Richard builds REM pods, so he makes REM pods and he makes music boxes and other things that we're working on, new stuff. But when we make REM pods, and we make them out of wood, so most people have the plastic, the generic plastic boxes,
Yeah.
but he makes them out of wooden boxes because most of the places you go to are people have passed away 100 or so years ago. They're not going to know what plastic is. They're going to feel less threatened by something wood because everything was made of wood back then. If you got a toy, it was wood. If you got a gift, it was wood. And so we use a lot of wooden boxes. And for the music boxes, we use tin, which also was something that was around back then. And we found that they react so well to them because they're not as afraid. Oh, he's going to get one. But it's something they recognize.
I'll get this bigger one.
Size doesn't matter, honey.
Yes.
Well, for here it might, to make it easier for people to see.
So this is one of the REM pods that he makes.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
And each one of them is different. He decorates each one of them differently. He signs the bottom of
I
each
signed the
one.
bottom of them because they're all like everyone's different. Nobody will ever have the same one.
Everyone's a work of art.
So
We've had someone who asked him to make a REM pod out of what was it? Out of a
steampunk hat.
Mm-hmm.
So he's making a REM pod out of a steampunk hat with the lights in the goggles.
Yeah.
Had someone asked for a Harry Potter themed one.
So I got a Harry Potter. I'm
Mhm.
making a Harry Potter.
And then you have the doll ones too, right?
I've got one left.
They have all sold except
they're
for
all
one.
gone, and I have to get more doll heads.
Yeah, he's making.
This is
we're
the
making,
only one I got left.
Oh, wow.
We're making some clown head ones for this.
Yeah, I
guy.
knew that you were because you had said that. Well,
Yeah.
when we met you guys the second time, the first time we met you at the Paracon in Pensacola,
Yeah.
but we really didn't have time to visit very much. But then we really met you again at the Ozark.
Ozark.
Yeah, the Deep
Deep-
Deep South
Paranormal.
Paranormal Comic Con there in Ozark. Just a heads up, we're not coming this year.
Oh, I was hoping.
We wanted to, but
They moved that to August, didn't they?
yeah, it's your
Yeah.
birthday weekend. But
Well, I think
our
that's-
son-in-law is going out of town, and we got to
Oh,
babysit.
yeah.
And I don't think you guys
I was gonna
want.
say I forgot what we had. But that was it.
Yeah, you guys don't want Piper and Nolan there.
Yeah, we got. Yeah, it's August 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then-
It's his birthday
It'll be a
weekend.
good
That's
one.
how I knew when it was.
It's gonna be
You know what's
good.
funny? You know, they say things happen for a reason. And we were supposed to go to Cajun Country Paracon this year. We've gone, we went last year. And we were supposed to go this year. And he said to me just one day, he's like, I have a bad feeling. Like, we shouldn't go to this one. I got a bad feeling. And I was like, well, if you have a bad feeling, you need to listen to it. So we told him, I'm sorry, but, you know, and it was only 5 hours long. It was only a 1 day thing. But we were like, sorry, but, you know, if he has a bad feeling, we got to listen. And so we had to back out. So we were going to go to Laurel, Mississippi, because it was on our anniversary. Okay. Their Comic-Con was on our anniversary. So we were going to go to Laurel, Mississippi, because we've got to Laurel for the last few years on our anniversary. And something else happened, like his truck broke down, and then the transmission in the car he was using broke, and then my alternator in my car went all at the same time. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So we got my car fixed, we got his car running, but we're like, we can't do it. And then come to find out that someone he knew growing up, you know, who was like a mother to him, her brother died, and his memorial was on our anniversary. And if we had gone to these other two places, we kept making plans to go somewhere, and it kept getting canceled for whatever reason.
Yeah.
If we had gone, we wouldn't have been there for her.
Right.
We've
Well,
had-
so far, nothing we've planned this year has happened.
Yeah,
Well,
So
except for one thing.
nothing.
Well, we
What? Which
so
one was that?
when we replanned. So we originally planned to see my sister in June. We moved it up to April.
Which is really, really good.
Which is good because it's not
It's a mess
it's
now.
a mess. And then in June, our daughter called and said, "Mom, I'm coming to Vegas for, you know, your birthday and Father's Day." And I said, "Okay, perfect."
From Vegas.
Yeah, from Vegas to Florida. And I said, well, we can just change that trip. We can go in May. I said, we didn't have anything planned for May. A week later, after we had made these plans to go do something that week, we moved it to another week. Our other daughter calls and says, Mom, I need dental work. I need to see a doctor, and I need glasses before I fall off your insurance. And I said, okay, well, then we'll just change that trip that we were planning on taking to Key West to some other time. Because that's what it was. We planned to go to Key West in June. Then we planned to go in July.
Won't be this year.
And we found out that don't go in June or July.
No.
Go in November.
Yep, that's the time to go.
So we had planned to
No, I
go.
didn't have to be told. I knew that.
We had planned to go to the Ozark Comic-Con. That got changed. We got plans right now to go to Gettysburg for the Battlefield Bash. And we got plans to go to Ireland. So we're hoping that we get to still do those things.
I want to go to Ireland.
Yeah, that's something we really want to go. We're working towards that, but our big trip was in November, end of October. We went for Halloween, and first week in November, we went up to New Jersey, which is where I'm from.
Yep.
We went to the Para-Unity convention up there and stayed with my sister. And we went on Halloween weekend. We went to Sleepy Hollow, New York, and went up to the cemetery in Sleepy Hollow where Washington Irving is buried. And, you know, so that was pretty cool. And
You guys also went to Eastern State then, didn't you?
We were supposed to, but right then there was a whole bunch of problems in Pennsylvania because of the voting and Trump, and so there was a lot of problems going on there.
Protests and all kind of stuff.
Unrest.
Yeah,
so
so it was not a good time for us to
We didn't
go.
go.
So we said, okay, if we go back up next year, we're going to go next year. So that's why we went to Sleepy Hollow. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I don't know anybody else who's been to Sleepy Hollow on Halloween, you know. But yeah, I even told my sister and my brother-in-law, I said, looked at my brother-in-law, Jason, and I said, how many times have you taken my sister to a cemetery? He goes, never. I said, this is the third one we've been to since we've been here.
Yep.
Because you don't
We do
realize how much they have up there, how old the graves are, how, you know, I took Richard to Union Cemetery, which is, you know, I mean, when I was growing up, I remember the graves being sunk in and you know, because they were so old, and it's a really old area. You don't think of it that way, but it is.
Yeah. Well, I know I grew up in part of it. I was in Passaic County, so I lived over in Patterson.
I was in Birmingham.
So yeah, I know about old shit. You got Baltimore, you got there, grew up in it. So, but down here, we also have some stuff down here that's even older than some of the stuff we see up there.
Yep. Well, that's why we go to the forts, because the forts still have so much energy, you know, in them. And we went to Fort Gaines, which you can't investigate in Fort Gaines. Okay. Just
no, you can only do it while walking around, while you're acting like you're on a tour, like you're touring it.
But when we went, they actually were doing a reenactment of the Battle of Mobile Bay, which we had no idea. So we walk in, all these people are in period dress, and we're like, what in the heck is going on? And they're like, oh, just wait. And they were firing cannons. And I mean, it was awesome. It was just like Gettysburg. So
yeah, when we went to Fort Gaines, this was 6 years ago. Right. 6 or 7 years ago, actually 7 years ago now, we were there, and I was talking to the lady in the gift shop about their hauntings, and she goes, we're not supposed to talk about that. She goes, but I'll tell you. And so she spent half an hour telling me about all their hauntings there.
Oh yeah, we were talking to reenactors, and they were telling us about stuff that happened when they were doing reenactments and stuff, you know, and they're like, yeah, we're not supposed to say anything, but this is what's going on. And we're like, man, if only we could get in here, you know, but yeah, they don't want that portion known that way, you know?
Right.
So,
yeah. But have you seen some of the stuff that they sell in the gift shop that's related to ghost hunting and, whoring around and some other things?
Yeah.
It makes you laugh that here's a way that they could make more money, get more people on the island.
Yeah.
That's the same way with the battleship, the USS Alabama.
Oh, we wanted to invest in USS Alabama.
I've tried for 25 years to get on that.
I'll bet.
And they always say, oh, well, we don't want to have that reputation. And I'm like, have you looked? You're listed in the top 10 of haunted places in Alabama, the USS Alabama.
Yeah, you already have that reputation.
Right.
I don't understand. You know, they let the Boy Scouts sleep on there. I guess I need to adopt a kid and put him in the Boy Scouts and spend.
Well, you know what? The thing is that you have some people that go and they investigate and quietly and respect the area. And then there are groups that go and they don't respect the area and they provoke. Right. They're leaving trash everywhere. And, you know, and that's the thing is that remember, we're going to lose all these places to investigate if people don't start being cognizant of these things. You know, you need to clean up after yourself. You need to not be provoking. These people have to deal with these spirits when you leave. You don't get them all stirred up and pissed off and then leave. Go, oh, well, bye. You know, it doesn't work that way.
That's the reason why I would tell people that I wouldn't just let anybody investigate my home, because I still have to live there afterwards.
Right.
You piss off something in my house and I got to deal with it. I'm not going to want to do that.
Get our own home. That's why we do not investigate our own home, because, you know, you don't want to get them upset. You don't want to piss them off. You know, we got, you know, she makes a showing. Addie will be in the bathtub and go, Mima, can you close the bedroom door? And I'll say, okay, baby, why? What's up? She goes, I'm tired of seeing the shadows moving back and forth in your room. You know, and I'm like, okay, I just close the door and, you know, go on with it. But yeah, we're going to lose places to investigate if people don't start, you know, taking better.
And yeah, there's so many places, and a lot of the more famous places have been just beat to death. You know, like that's why. And then now they're like, oh, look how much money we can make. Oh, yeah, that's
it's all about money. We're trying to find some new places that we can get access to.
Yeah.
You know, with all these people, none of them have ever been. They've never done anything like that. And I ask them every month. They all say they want to get started. They want to do something.
Yeah, and I'm working on getting.
So we're close.
But ever since COVID, it had been closed investigations, and we've been trying to get back into this place. And it's just, you know, after COVID, it's just hard to get into some of these places.
I just don't.
We could start them off in the graveyard.
Actually,
We got some
I've
real
got-
close here in Pensacola too.
Yeah, I've got one of the ladies on our that comes to our event. She used to be on the city council here, and she knows a lot of people. And she told me to reach out to the Santa Rosa County Historical Society, and more than likely they could have somebody come and give us a walking tour of, you know, the historical downtown Milton area.
Mhm.
And I think that
Could be kind of cheesy, but
They used to do a ghost walk every year where you showed up
Yeah.
and walk around and tell you the history and everything.
yeah, they still do it.
They did last
la-
year.
Last year's, I think that they did something out at the train.
yeah, they didn't do it
Training
last
depot.
year.
Yeah, because
They did something at the training depot.
the whole focal point, the starting and ending point was at the Imogene.
And now Imogene is Liberty Church.
Imogene is Liberty.
Yeah, I
Church.
know.
So
Believe me, we drive by it enough.
I'm so
And-
sad that we lost Imogene because we did so many events there. We investigated with the Ghost Brothers. And you know, I mean, we did so many events there, and all of a sudden now we can't, you know. But we're working on it because our landlord is the pastor at Liberty Church here. And so,
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
funny because the lady who interviewed us for the newspaper, she's friends with the youth pastor at the Imogene one.
oh, there you go. Well, I told him,
So
I was like, you need to let us in to investigate. He started laughing. I'm like, no, I'm serious. I'm
yeah,
not
tell them that we're all good people and it'd be fun. And we won't do anything bad.
Well, that's like when we moved into this house and we found out he was a pastor. We're like, okay, I just got to let you know. First of all, my youngest is transgender. So if you have a problem with that, that's it. He's like, nope, that's no problem. I said, and second of all, my husband and I are ghost hunters. Do you have a problem with that? And he's like, nope, not at all. I was like, okay, we're good. You never know
It's
when
like-
someone's a pastor, you know?
You know, to each his own, you know, and most pastors don't really care about your hobbies or somebody's way of life, as long as you're not out killing people, a pedophile, or you know, stripping cats of their skin and your, you know, for fun. I don't think that they care.
You have those people who are like, you hunt ghosts, that's the work of the devil. You can't be doing that. It's the work of the devil. And it's not. How can you believe in God and believe in heaven and not believe in spirits? I mean, you know.
If anybody had listened to my show last night, Frank Bennett talks about the spirits in the Bible, how they mention all these spirits, but they never mention the word demon.
Yep.
Right.
That's something that came from people, not from the Bible.
Yeah.
You know.
So, it is. I mean, how do you tell somebody when they're 4 years old that what they're seeing is bad? That you're doing something bad because you see spirits.
And I'll tell you something. Like I said, my son was seeing spirits since he was old enough to talk and walk. And he would tell me about the Sparkle Man. And I never once doubted what he said. I backed him up 200%. I would go up and lay in his bed with him until he went to sleep because he was afraid to go to sleep. But, you know, 200%, I never told him, no, you're not seeing that. Oh, you're making that up. Oh, it's an imaginary friend. I never did that. I kept looking I looked into everything I could look into to try to find how I could help him, how I could, you know. And now he's 29 and he doesn't see them anymore, he says, you know.
Well,
When does he say he stopped
most kids
seeing
grow out of it. You know, most kids, they when they're young and little, they're more open to things and, you know, more apt to see things that later on your brain tells you you're not supposed to see that.
Well, see, we
Yeah,
moved out of that
that's not real.
house when he was 9. And I moved into the other house in Gulf Breeze. So after that point, he didn't really talk about it anymore. I think he was going through a lot emotionally with my divorce and everything. And he just closed down and shut everything, you know. And now he's 29. He's like, oh, I don't see anything. But his daughter is our granddaughter. And she goes ghost hunting with us. And she does EVP sessions and she does K2 and She loves going to St. John Cemetery, to the infant cemetery, and talking to Ronaldo, which is one of the spirits there. And she's very into it. Most kids, you pull up into a cemetery at 9 o'clock at night, and they're scared. Not her. So, Papa, I need my flashlight. I need my K2, and she just runs off behind Papa. I'm like, that child's gonna fall into an open grave one day because she just takes off with him. And I'm like, I'm coming. I'm old. I'm coming. I'm behind you.
I think Piper would go.
Yeah.
My nieces, we took our nieces ghost hunting in a cemetery in Eastern Kentucky, and we helped them to have an experience. And I even brought them a ghost hunter shirt to wear. And the thing is it wasn't black. Okay. It wasn't black. And we were told, because we didn't have a portal, that we weren't real ghost hunters. I said, real ghost hunters can't afford to spend $700 on a piece of equipment.
Right.
It doesn't work as good as what we already had.
So I had to laugh.
One of the things on Richard's wish list is the geoport.
I want a geoport.
He wants a geoport so bad, but I mean,
That's what she kept saying. She goes, it was the geoport that
Well,
she
we
kept
use the
going.
Echovox, and they were pretty satisfied with it.
Yeah. They got to talk to their
we've got an Xbox, we've got, Ovilus. So, I mean, we've got a lot of things for them to speak with, but he wants that geoport.
oh, well, that was what they kept going off. They'll listen to my show. They watched me on TV. They do all this stuff, and they go, but Grandma, you don't have a geoport.
You're not real.
And I'm like, okay, whatever. At this time they were 10 and 7. I don't think that I care what a 10 and a 7-year-old think. They're my great nieces. I don't care.
Right.
My thing is that if you expose children, especially children who have gifts, to knowing how to speak to spirits and knowing how to communicate, knowing when to back off and how to protect themselves, they're not as afraid of these things. If you just go, nope, you don't see that, and then they see someone walking through their room or someone's pulling the sheets off at night, they're going to freak out. But if you teach them how to work, Addie knows how to cleanse herself afterwards. She knows to put her protective necklace on. She knows how to do it because she's been investigating with Pawpaw for a couple of years now. We call her EVP Whispers. That's what we call it. That's our junior group, EVP Whispers.
Yeah, we don't.
How old is she? 8?
8.
Yeah, I wish there had been somebody
That's
around
Piper's age.
when I was younger to help with that. It was basically shut your mouth and don't tell people.
Oh,
Right.
he drives her home from school, and they pass a cemetery. She's like, Papa, we haven't gone in this one yet. They'll pull into the
So
cemetery.
we'll go walk around.
Walk around the
She wants
cemetery.
to walk around and look.
We've
So,
taken her to old funeral homes. We've taken her spelunking in caves. We've taken her everywhere we could think of. Because how do you know who you want to be and what you want to be if you never experience anything?
That's true.
Right? Like, you can learn stuff in books and on the internet and everything. Kids are all about the internet nowadays. Oh, we'll just watch on the internet.
yeah, and that's my thing.
That's
Is
not
like
living.
with her, I would never take her anywhere where I knew
Where there was anything dangerous.
anything was bad, or anything that could actually,
Hurt her.
harm to anybody. But there's a lot of young people, from her age up through teenagers that are really interested in paranormal. They just don't know, they don't know what to do or how to start
Right.
or whatever.
Don't know how to get started.
Yeah,
And
so
we
that's
haven't
what
taken her to Fort Morgan. We have seen someone when we were doing a Ghost Hunters 101, and we have seen someone picked up and thrown against a wall. Big guy.
We've seen that too.
Yeah, he was provoking, and the spirit didn't like it, and it picked him up and threw him against the wall. And there were 30 people in that group and saw him. So as long as there's something that might bother her, we wait till she's a little older. But we have places where the spirits are children, where it's just a family, and we know that it's safe, and we know she's not going to be hurt. And we'll bring her there because we don't want anybody saying, "Oh, well, you bring your grandchild to."
And she's all about, I want to get some more kids.
Oh, I want to get some more kids in my group.
She wants to make it a whole thing. So we're going to work.
There are actually some storybooks out there about kids that do that at her age. I know that they're fiction, but she might like those.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what they're called, but I remember my kids reading them. We didn't go to when my kids were little, but they were interested in it when they were little.
She has been since she was a baby. I remember in our other house in Gulf Breeze, and I told you there was a lot of ghosts there. And I'd be sitting on the couch rocking her, and she would be looking up in the corner, laughing and giggling and pointing at something in the corner up on the ceiling. But she's been like that since she was itty bitty. She would see shadows or she'd hear things, and we're trying to teach her, don't be afraid of it. They're just people. They're just people, and nothing here will harm you. We bless the house. We make sure that it's safe, so nothing here will harm you. And that was a big thing for us, is to make sure that she knows, as long as you're with me, Mom, and Papa, we'll make sure nothing's going to harm you. You know, so we make sure she has her crystals and she has her protection and she knows how to cleanse herself, and that's important. A lot of people don't do that. They bring kids to a cemetery or whatever, and they don't have them cleanse themselves, or even just Richard always, he wipes his feet and says, stay here. And that's how he does it. Everybody has their own way of doing stuff. But a lot of people don't teach kids that. So
but graveyard dirt is supposed to bless your house.
Mm-hmm.
But children are like a beacon. And if there's something that wants to get attached, they glow. And this thing's going to come right to them. And you want to make sure they know to tell it to stay. Stay. So that's a big thing for me, is just making sure children know how to close that door, how to make sure to make stuff stay where it's at. If you're going to take them ghost hunting, that's a huge thing.
How do you teach a child to discern whether or not something might be bad?
They have to go by their feelings. They have to, and it's just like people. There are some people that come up to you, they're like, they're your best friend, they're awesome, you're part of the team, you're part of the group, you're the best. And then all of a sudden you suck and they don't want nothing to do with you, and you get chastised. And you're like, what did I do? Well, it was never you. It was the true them coming through. People can only fake being who they are for so long, and then the truth comes through. And it's the same thing with spirits. They can only fake it for so long. And every case you see where there was a spirit pretending to be a good spirit and they were not a good spirit, they can only fake it for so long, and then their true identity comes out every single time. So they have to trust their gut. Don't be afraid to walk away. If you think it's someone nice, you can still say, thank you, but you stay here and walk away. Mm-hmm. And teach them how to close that door.
What do you feel that your granddaughter is probably going to be having seances when she's about 13 with all of her friends?
I know it won't be with a Ouija board, because she knows Ouija boards are banned from my house.
Paul will be in there turning the breaker off and on.
Yeah.
Click, click, click.
Bang it on the window. Bang, 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 bang.
Grandpa's going to fix the table to where it bounces up and down.
Yeah.
Every other kid will be like, I want to go to the beach for my birthday party. I want to go to Flanders for my birthday party. Addie's going to be like, I want to have a seance at the house and go on a ghost hunt. We're going to pick a cemetery, and the kid's going to be like,
yeah, go to Fort Blakely overnight.
You're the weird kid, But I prefer that she's not afraid,
Yeah.
That's good.
It is. And I mean, like I said, I wish I'd have had some support when I was growing up.
And there's
I never lost the, being able to hear and see and talk to spirits. I never lost it. I just didn't advertise it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a lot more accepted now. I mean, when we were coming up, if you said, I can see spirits, people are like, oh, you're weird. There's something wrong with you. They used to give people electroshock therapy.
They'll take you up to the home.
You enjoy the last day out of the home. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of kids that have abilities and they see things that, and they're scared to tell anybody because, if I tell somebody, they're going to think I'm crazy, and we really like to let them know, if you need somebody to talk to, we're there. You can come and talk to us, and we'll help you the best we can on trying to figure out what your gifts are and what you're seeing, and let you know that you're not losing your mind, because
we're still friends with a young girl that we helped when she was 12. she's now having a baby, so I'm really excited. She's like 23 now, but we helped her and her family to understand that she could see spirits and explain to them what she was seeing and how to help her and everything. I mean, I had to do a lot of research just to make sure that I was giving sound advice. You know, I knew what advice I would give somebody, but I wanted to check it out against what other people would say. And it ended up being right. But the thing is it ended up being right for her, for Angel. Angel is, you know, she still sees spirits and everything. And she's hoping that she passes this on to her kids. Because she says that, you know, even though she was the weird kid, this is in Atchison, Kansas, okay? This is a town where everybody thinks everything's haunted. Carl knows I'm right. Everything. Right. I mean, they advertise themselves as the most haunted town in the U.S., okay?
Looks like we're going to Atchison, Kansas.
And so, you know, here she is. She's telling people she sees spirits and stuff, and she's being treated like the weird kid. And I'm like, maybe they're the weird kids, you know? And I explained that to her.
Well, a lot of them see spirits too. But it's like pointing the finger at her to get it off of them. You know what I mean? Oh, well, that kid over there, yeah, she sees ghosts. She's
Go let the cat out.
Go let the cat out.
Come on.
The cat's over there. Row, row, row.
We don't know nothing about that. Not a thing.
What's funny is 20 miles south of Atchison is Leavenworth.
It's
nothing to see here, but yet that could be the most haunted city in the country.
Well, you look, they got the big prison down there.
They want nothing to do with it.
Every time we go to Foley, Alabama, we pass by this one house, and I call it the ghost house because no one who has ever stayed there has stayed in that house. Like they leave, and now it's just falling apart, and the woods are taking it over, and it's right across the street from a cemetery. And I'm like, that has got to have something to do with it. I mean, there's a house like next to the cemetery and stuff, but this house, everybody who has ever bought that house has abandoned it. No one has ever stayed there. And I was like, we didn't try to get in there, but now it's like falling down and falling apart.
Yeah, it's probably condemned now.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, if that was in Escambia County, it'd already be torn down.
I know. Isn't that sad? Like we were driving through downtown Pensacola, and I was like, look at all these houses they built to make them look old, but they're not. They're brand new houses, but they try to make them look old. I'm like, just refurbish the old ones.
Huh.
You know, there's so many old houses.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many, like the church in Seville Square, how it has made it through so many hurricanes and stuff.
I just like
in that whole area.
That's where we got married.
Oh.
Christ
Well,
Church.
We got married in that church, and then our
Reception.
the reception was at the Barclay House, another
Across the
very haunted. like, of course, we have to get married in a haunted.
The most
church.
haunted house in Pensacola, though, is the Door House.
Yep.
I know. And, you know, what's funny is
owned by the University of Florida, University of West Florida.
Yeah, our daughter works there. But here's what's funny. The first time we went for a ride down through there, we didn't live here. We were just visiting. And we had driven past there. And I point at that house and I go, that house is haunted. I don't know anything about it, okay? We're just driving through. And he goes, why do you say that? I said, because I saw something. But at the time, there were movers moving a piano out of the house. They were doing some kind of work on that house at the time, but we were just driving by. So, you know, it's just that fast. You can see something and go, it's haunted. And same as the church. I think that church is probably one of the most unique buildings in Pensacola.
We didn't even decorate it with flowers or anything. We left it as it was because it was so beautiful with the brass.
Yeah.
Stained glass and the wood, and I mean it's a beautiful church, and it didn't need any decoration. It was perfect as it was, and so that's why, of course, we had to get married there.
And there are priests buried under it. Just
there
so
are
there.
priests.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know. University of West Florida exhumed them and proved it was them and then reinterred them. I remember that story.
Yeah.
My daughter, she was telling me about it, and I looked it up and got more details about it from the newspaper. And but yeah,
Well, that's
actually a bunch of the buildings on University of West Florida are haunted as well.
There's a park right off of 12th Avenue, or actually it's 17th Avenue. And there's a building on it. It's built. It's the Boy Scouts use it. But there's a playground on this. You know, there's a huge playground, and it was a cemetery. So
isn't this the one that they recently did some GPR and found some bodies?
Yeah, so far they've found 78 graves.
And here's all these kids who are playing on the playground.
And it's a park.
Yeah, it's a children's park. And we went out there one day and we're just doing EVP session. And the only really good EVP we got from there was it sounded like an older black lady. She said, it don't look the same. Is what we heard.
Yeah.
It don't look the same. That's what we heard. And then this huge thunderstorm just rolled out of nowhere and started pouring rain. And we had to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one at 17th. And then there's another one that's over by the Escambia County Jail, there by Pace Boulevard.
Okay.
If you look up online, just Potter's Field in Pensacola, and it'll tell you exactly where it's at. You drive up there, and it's just a field with a trail where people have been driving across the center of it. And it was the cemetery for the Pensacola Poor Farm. And it's just a field. There's no markers, nothing, but it's an entire cemetery.
Do you guys know? Do you guys know where the Poor Farm was out here in Milton?
No.
Because I know that they were doing some cleanup of an area last year. There was a article online about cleanup that they had done, and they said that this area was where the Milton Poor Farm had been, but the buildings were all gone and stuff like that. But I didn't know, it didn't give an address or anything like that. And one of the things somebody said was, the locals know where it's at.
There's probably a cemetery there, I'm sure.
I mean, back then they just buried them and put a wooden cross up, which of course all the wooden crosses are gone now.
Yeah.
That's like if you go to St. Michael's Cemetery, the big one right by the Bay Center.
Yeah.
All right, right behind it, there's a big field that's just open, that big open area. They were going to develop that, and they started digging up remains. So at one time, that was part of the cemetery.
Well, that's like that one place in Marietta. What was it? Where you went when you were
Dozier Boys School for Boys.
Yeah, the Dozier School for Boys. And they were uncovering all those bodies of the children. And then they said, stop. We're not going to uncover anymore. You're not allowed to investigate there. You can't go in the buildings and investigate. And now they're turning it into another school.
Yeah. Look it up. There's a good documentary. It's called The White House Boys. And it'll tell you
I remember
Dozier School.
But, I mean, if you think about it, you think how
schools get one.
are and how many children can see spirits, and they're going to be going to school on this land where all these children were buried. And I'm just like, who came up with that idea? Who decided it was a good idea? We have this school that got shut down, and there's all these children who died there.
It's supposed to be a school for special needs.
And now you're going to put all these special needs kids there. That's brilliant. Smart.
Yeah, these kids are going to have PTSD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I always wondered why schools were haunted, and that's probably why.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mine scared me.
It's something to imagine, how many houses around here and how many businesses and stuff are built on top of bodies.
Oh, a lot.
I mean, back in the old days, if you died, a lot of people buried you in the yard. Look out back under the tree with a wooden cross.
When we're on our way to
Yeah.
Tennessee, we're always like, okay, we go straight, and then we make a left at the house with the cemetery in the front yard, you know, where they buried all their family in the front yard, and always turn left at the house with the.
You know, that's a good way to get around taxes too.
Oh yeah, because they can't foreclose on your house if there's a cemetery.
Yeah, not only that, but you can get a huge tax deduction for the cemetery.
Yep. It's just,
So-
you know, people
Well,
don't
that's
think about all that.
This house isn't that old. This house was built in 1951, so it's not super old, but it has a lot of history. And just this area we're in, there was a young girl who was killed
right on the corner.
on the corner years ago.
Navy girl.
And there's still a cross there. And I know Richard has gifts that he doesn't tell most people, but he's seen spirits out walking, you know, out down the street and stuff at other houses. So, I mean, anywhere you live could be haunted. Anywhere.
Garden Street is haunted.
Yeah.
When we were driving, so when our daughter moved here back in 2022, we had to stay in Gulf Shores because they had gotten a rental over there for the month. They didn't know that they were going to be able to close on their house so fast. And so we ended up staying over there. And of course we had to come across to get to the highway from over there. You know how you have to come across that 2-lane road and not out to the highway. And of course we're driving through
downtown.
Yeah, we're driving on Garden Street every day, you know, one way that, you know, on the way there and on the way back.
Yep.
And when we were driving down the street at night, I would see this guy dressed in like 80s evening clothes, you know, whatever, you know, not Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night Fever type stuff, but clothes that I would have seen on guys in the, you know, in the 80s, maybe early 90s, you know, wide collars and all that. And I would see him. And then there was another person that I saw very similar, but newer clothes. So I just wonder if it was somebody that got, you know, because that's a huge bar district now. I just wonder if it was somebody who got hit by a car. Well, I had told Erica about this a long time ago, you know, before we moved here. We were in Kansas City at the time, and I interviewed her. And I was telling her about this guy that I saw. And she goes, yeah, recently this, you know, a guy had been hit on his bicycle driving down, you know, riding down there. And it was at night. But of course we were driving through. I didn't have time to ask the guy, hey, what's your name? And what are you doing here? You know?
Well, that's the Bluffs. The Bluffs are crazy haunted. When we were there with a group filming, and I mean, there was so much going on down there, you know, because there was a young man, what is his name, Dean, I think, that was hit by a train, and there were deaths down there. And I mean, I remember when they were filming, myself and Valerie were trying to stay off camera, and we're standing there, you know, as they're filming, and we hear someone come running through the leaves, running up behind us. And we turn around and there is no one there. You could hear clear as day someone running. Richard had his leg pulled, and there was fingerprints on his leg.
You do know they're rebuilding all that, right? That they got the funding?
Yeah.
Yep. And then when they sat down, he sat down and they were cleansing him. His hat slid back on the chair. Like they had on camera, his hat was sitting there, and then shoot, back it goes. And it just slid all the way back. So
Yeah,
that's
it's strange about that place because all this bad stuff happens, but it always happens right in that spot. You know, you got the all the way up Scenic Highway is, you know, water and all this, but always right there where they're doing all that construction, there's been suicides, murders, people hit by trains,
shipwrecks.
You know, there was a shipwreck out there that's out there. There's all kinds of stuff that's happened right there, wrecks right there all the time. But it always happens in that spot. It's weird how it's like, no, yeah, just stay away from there because that's a bad spot.
Yeah, we heard American Indian drums playing. It was crazy the amount of stuff that happened. And when we left that location that night, all hell broke loose because pretty much everybody who went on that investigation had something happen to them. One of the girls lost her house keys, lost her keys, couldn't find them. Went back the next day and they were just sitting on the train tracks, just sitting right there, pretty as you please. One girl, a pipe burst in her house and flooded her house.
Brand new house.
Brand new house. I got up the next morning to go to work. Richard's laying in bed, ceiling fan's going. Ceiling fan is bolted. Okay, one of those long bolts into the ceiling. And Richard decides to reach over to grab his voice recorder, start listening to EVPs. And while it was going, the entire ceiling fan, the bolt pulled out of the box on the ceiling, and it was like Final Destination. This thing is spinning around all over the place by the wires. And he had to like roll onto the floor and like commando crawl over and turn it off. Like weirdest shit happened, like to everybody who was there that day.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't wait to get back down there to there because, well, first off, it is a great place to rock hunt. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing.
Yeah, we couldn't find a way down there now. Right.
Yeah. Well,
until they're done with all that.
Yeah, we apparently broke the law when we went down there, when we went last year.
Yeah, we weren't the only ones.
But yeah, we weren't the only ones. But I like going down there to walk.
Yeah, the art.
Yeah, it's kind of like the storm we had last night.
That's probably why it was
lots
closed
of storm
more.
art. So
yeah, it's definitely
when did they close it?
Area. You know,
they're redoing it. They're rebuilding it, but
they're supposed to be putting like they're redoing the boardwalk and
yeah,
you know, a bunch of other stuff. At first, I thought they closed it down just because so much crap has happened there.
Right.
I mean, there's somebody committed suicide in the parking lot in their car. I mean, all kinds of things have happened there. But
well, I was told
rebuilding
that there had been bodies dropped there, that they dropped bodies off there, that people had been killed and raped there, all kinds of stuff.
It's so crazy. Yeah. One guy was, he was attacked and killed because they thought that he was gay and he wasn't, but they thought he was. And so they killed him and took he had like $3 on him. He died for $3 and they took his money and left. Like, it's amazing the amount of stuff that just happened there at the Bluffs.
Right in that spot.
Right in that spot. Yeah.
What I think is odd on Scenic Highway is that house looks like a mosque.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Bought it.
Yeah, somebody bought it again.
Ugly.
Huh?
It's ugly.
It's
yeah.
It is. And the house across the street isn't much better.
No.
They look like they match.
I gotta make my house look like the guy down there, or I don't know what they were doing. Competition.
I don't know, but you know what? That piece of property is a great piece of property, though.
Rich people are weird. They call it eccentric when they're rich. We just call it weird.
Yeah, and if we do it, we're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to put giant gold domes on my house and build a garden with all these statues. And
you wanted a giant Sasquatch, but
yes, I want a Sasquatch in my yard, but my HOA said you can't be more than 3 foot tall.
See, that's where
I want a Sasquatch that's 3 foot tall that does this.
That's where it comes in handy. So Rich and I live on the outskirts of the hood. We call it the hood skirts. Okay. And that's what comes in handy living in the hood skirts because nobody gives a shit what you put in your yard. We could plant flowers in a toilet in the front yard, they wouldn't care.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show.
I said, I will never live where there's an HOA. No. I can't imagine you buy a house, you pay all this money
what
for
our
it,
goal
can tell you what to do with your yard, what to do with your house. I mean, send you a fine because your grass is 1/4 of an inch too high. Like, I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. I don't think that's right. Why buy a house then?
I have just given up on a lot of that stuff, and I'm on the fines committee. I think I'm still on there. But, but the reason that I got on the fines committee was
nobody's gotten that far.
Nobody's gotten that
they
far.
Usually take care or whatever.
But I told them, I said, the reason I'm on the fines committee is because I want to make sure nobody gets fined ridiculously.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Protect the little man.
So, Yeah, somebody's got to do it. So,
Amen.
but
Man.
we're at the end of the show.
Aw.
So, where can everybody find you guys?
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Ethereal Voices Paranormal on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
And we will be at the Deep South Paracomic-Con August 9th and 10th in Ozark, Alabama. Please come by and see us.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome
It
event.
doesn't cost anything just to say hi. You know,
There'll be a lot of celebrities there, and some actors, and
our friend Keith Age is going to be there.
Keith Age will be
I
there.
saw that.
I was sitting here watching TV, and the phone rings, and it's Keith Age calling Richard. I'm like, why is he calling you? He's like, I've known him for years. I'm like,
So but yeah, he'll be there, and it's gonna be an awesome event. But yeah, you can catch us if you want to contact us up for an investigation, if your house is haunted or business.
or you just want us to come and help you if you're a group, and you just want us to come and help you, if you're doing an event, or you just want us to come and help you with an investigation.
Just shoot me a message on Facebook, either on my page, Richard Johnson, or on Ethereal Voices Paranormal. I'll get the message, and we'll get back with you as soon as possible.
I put everything through Richard's because I have too many grandkids, and I'm working at the hospital all day long. So yeah, I have 15,000 unread emails. So everything goes through Richard.
Yeah, I gotta go. You guys have a great time. You guys say bye.
All right.
Daughter just called.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Talking to you.
That's
Good
all
talking
right.
to you. Hope to see you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
All right.
Oh yeah, we're looking forward to it.
All right.
Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. You can always find us on the Billerites Network and everything on Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment's Facebook page, Things Network Facebook page, because we're all part of Things. And you can also find us on Dark Realm TV on your Roku or Amazon Fire TV. We're live or reruns are over there right now. Coming soon will be live shows over on Dark Realm TV.
Awesome.
So, everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank both of you for joining us, and we will see you next week here on Paranormal Nation Radio. Not so normal. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right.